Hi, my name is Amit Fadnes, and I'm a principal consultant with Wingate Solutions. This is our second part of our AI Builder series, and today we are going to talk about translating a text to different languages. In our part one, we did talk about how we can read through a PDF document and extract sections and clauses out of it and put it in a SharePoint list. We are going to continue with the same example, and what we are going to do is today is we are going to take it to the next level, where once these texts are extracted from the PDF document, we are going to translate it into Spanish and Hindi. Okay, so let's get started with the demo. Okay, so let's get to the basics first. So yesterday, or when we showed you the previous video, we had created this SharePoint list, which was the Microsoft certification, and it only had titles. So now what we have done is we have added Spanish translation and Hindi translation as two separate fields. Over here also I've added a Spanish translation and Hindi translation for the main skill, and the conference demo also has the same thing, but over here we are also going to translate the specifics. So I've created a specific Spanish translation and specific Hindi translation. I'm just going to move this thing away from this so we can just see what we are trying to do. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to go to workflow, and this is a very easy process to translate your text from this. So what I've done is I've created an automated flow. So when an item has been created in Microsoft certification or Microsoft certification main skill or the conference demo, it is going to run this, and it is going to translate it into Spanish and Hindi and put it in those appropriate fields. So this first workflow is we're just going to look at Microsoft certification, and Microsoft provides us with a translate text into another language field over here. So we are going to just use the title, and we are going to specify which language do we need to convert it into. So the first one, I'm going to do it in Spanish. So if I scroll down over here and select Spanish, and I'm going to just rename this to Spanish, and then I'm going to click on new step. Again, I'm going to have another version over here, translate text into, and I'm going to say again title, and I'm going to change this to say Hindi. Okay. And finally, the step is I'm going to just rename this into Hindi, so I know what we are looking at. And finally, we are just going to update that SharePoint item. So I'm going to use the update item action, and I'm going to select conference demo and the list as main certification. And here the identifier is going to be the identifier of this when item is created. So I'm going to say ID, and the title is going to be, I'm just going to keep the title from the main one when an item is created. And in Spanish translation, I'm going to select the translated text under translate text into Spanish. And for Hindi translation, I'm going to select the translated text under Hindi. And I'm going to click on save, and I'm going to do the same thing for the remaining two as well. So over here, I've already created this, and translate text into another language, and I'm going to select the title and Spanish, new step, rename this to Spanish. Can translate and I'm going to select the title and select Hindi, new step, and finally update item. And over here I'm going to say main skill, ID, title, again I'm going to select the same title. Spanish translation is going to be from this one, Hindi translation from the next one, and that's about it. Save. And over here what I'm going to do is for the sub skills I'm going to have one translate this one, again it's going to be title Spanish, and I'm now going to also translate the other one, which was specifics, to Spanish. I'm just going to rename these to sorry, this should be Hindi. And I'm going to show you another way of, now I basically need to copy these two, and what I'll do is I'll create a parallel branch so those two will execute parallelly. So what I can do is I can do the copy to my clipboard, and over here I'm going to say add a parallel branch, and if you go to my clipboard you already have this over here. So now what I'm going to do is instead of Spanish I'm going to say specifics into Spanish, and then I'm also going to copy this one to the clipboard, click over here, add an action, my clipboard, translate that to Hindi, and I'm going to rename this to specifics into Hindi, and I'm going to expand this one, remove this title, and select specifics. Over here also, this is already specifics. This should be actually the title. Sometimes it does this weird thing. Now if you see over here everything is correct. But now what I'm going to do is instead of clicking over here or here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on next step. So what it does is it will execute these two and then it will come to this particular step. So I'm going to go to update item, and I'm going to select conference demo, the Microsoft sub skills. The identifier is going to be that one. Title, I'm going to select the same title from there. Specifics, I can leave that as blank and it will just keep whatever we have over there. So now this is the sub-skill Spanish translation, which is the translation for the title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one. Sub-skill Hindi translation is this thing. Specific is we're going to select the specifics into Spanish and then specifics into Hindi, and I'm just going to keep the remaining stuff as it is. And that's about it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run my yesterday's workflow, um, or the previous, not yesterday's, the previous example workflow, which was part of part one. And that is this Microsoft certification document. So I'm going to run this one, and I'm going to pause till this workflow runs because it takes around 3 minutes. And once that is done, I'll come back and I'll show you the results. So let's go ahead and click on this resubmit. And it should start at any moment. So it's going to start now, and I'll pause the video and I'll come back once it is done so I can show you how the other processes have started. And this process has ran successfully. So let's go ahead and check on this one whether it added those items. As I mentioned in my previous video, it takes a couple of refreshes to see if the update has been done. For some reason, it's now showing 2. Oh, I had an issue while running this thing and I had to resubmit it. So maybe that's the reason it created those 2. Now, if you see over here, my second workflow on this one ran and it has added the translation. This is the Spanish translation for design, business solution, create solution, and then this is the Hindi translation. And let's see what it did over here. I guess it's still processing that one. Let's see if it processed this one. Yeah, so it's still running this one. So we can go ahead and look at whether it has started running. So a minute ago, it did run it. So there we go. So it's showing now the Hindi translation and the Spanish translation. Let's see if this one is completed. Oh, it is giving us failed version. So let's see what the error is. Okay, so I found out that the Spanish thing, it was when I typed in incorrectly. So that's a good error resolution, that you make sure that you select from this drop down. You start typing in and select from the drop down, and then it started working. So I did it for both of them because I had copied the specifics also from this one. So that's what the error was. And I ran the whole process again. And now if you see over here, you're seeing that you have the Spanish translation for identify required data sources for a business solution. And then this one is the Hindi translation, create a high level design. And this is, I know Hindi, so I'm looking at it, and it's doing a pretty good job at translating it to Hindi. So this one was just an example. In real life, it was basically the clauses, the contract clauses, which we had extracted from a section for a law firm. We're just translating it to Spanish, but I showed you how it can work for a language which doesn't have the same thing as English. So you can see it has the same translation over here in Hindi. So you can do translations into multiple languages. So if you just expand this, these are all the languages that you can translate a particular text into. I also did the reverse translation on Google just to make sure that it's translating it correctly, and it gave me the same results into English. So in this demo, this one was a quick demo. We showed you how you can translate a particular text into a different language. It can be the other way around. So if you have a text in, say, Spanish, you can translate it to English. So keep on watching our videos. We'll be back soon with the next part of the AI Builder with Power Automate. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye.